Horror Lies.
Hey guys, Rob from Georgia here with you. It is week 347. I'm your Wednesday night host here at BodyBags, and it is the week that precedes Theme Week and Killer Animal Week. And next week, I will be looking at another stellar Italian film, The Wild Beast. Looking forward to that, so keep on the lookout for that. But this week I'm going to be checking out that new underwater horror film, Lovecraftian themed film from William Eubank. It is this year's film, 2020, and of course it goes under the title of Underwater. And this is, of course, the physical media, or blue release of it, of course. And it does, if you did not know, this is the last official title to come out under the old 20th Century Fox name. Disney has since changed it, now that they own it, like anything and everything else in the world, it seems like. I think it's 20th Century Studio now, but this is the last official release under the old 20th Century Fox. So for anything else, pick it up for that reason. But it does have a lot. It does have a lot to talk about. William Eubank, of course, and Kristen Stewart leads the cast. She's our main protagonist, and maybe one of the reasons I avoided it, I know I heard too much chat about people they don't like Kristen Stewart for whatever reason. I don't know if it's Twilight or other films that she was in. But I really went into this film, having seen it the first time just a few days ago on my Blue. I really didn't have any bias towards her at all other than what I heard second, third hand, whatever. And so I loved her performance. I thought she was great in there. Vincent Cassel's great too as the captain. T.J. Miller-Paul, he might be my favorite character in this whole movie. It does have somewhat of a, I don't know, it might be going too far to say an Aliens feel at time, but it is rooted in, your old Leviathan, Deep Star 6, your aquatic, underwater horror creature feature films, right? But this one stands apart a bit, if for anything else, because it is Lovecraftian themed in terms of its creature effects and the main antagonist that we never really see towards I would say the last quarter of the film maybe. It does a good job of pacing itself in terms of the creatures that we will see. Really starts off small and just kind of gains speed and ferocity along the way. And but anyways, what you have here in short is there's not a lot to get into as far as the plot. It's really just you've got TN Industries, that's an oil rigging industry, and they drill. They're drilling in this case at the bottom of the ocean in the Mariana Trench, and so they've got their thing set up. And as we're introduced to Kristen Stewart immediately, the first character we're introduced to. She's just sort of going through the early morning, if it's early morning motions of just getting herself ready for the day. And then, so we get to spend maybe a minute or two with her, and then, man, it all hits the fan. I mean, immediately it just starts going crazy. And apparently there's an earthquake, at least that's what you're led to believe initially. There's an earthquake, but there's something much larger at work here. And so ultimately, within just a few minutes, in order to salvage at least part of the structure that she is, this is a huge structure that is pretty much down towards the bottom of the ocean, and it's sort of in very different parts. And the main hub is where they're ultimately trying to get to, is they're getting from one place to another place in this movie. And so it is sort of a disaster underwater. You really don't know what's causing all this havoc, but you do just have a handful of characters. I think we're told there's like 316 people. You're led to believe that some have fled through escape pods already. We're not really told how many have survived, if any have survived. So you got a band that are struggling together to try to basically get to the main station where they can hopefully find some last remaining escape pods and get out of Dodge. So really, like I said, the first few minutes are really calm, and some great cinematography from Bojan Bazelli, I think his name is. He shot films like Pumpkinhead back in '88. He's been around for a while. The Ring in '02, Cure for Wellness he did in '16. Man, this film is shot beautifully. The CGI, now I'm not a fan of CGI, but how it's employed in this film, man, it is about as good as I think you can use CGI. I would almost say 3/4 of the film is actually filmed out of water, and the water is put in via CGI, and the work is amazing. And so a lot of the effects, I'm pretty sure there's some practical involved here, but a lot of CGI. But it just looks freaking great. But what helps, I think, are the sets. They really build full sets. And so, they're out there, even though there's no water, they're in their suits and everything, and they're sort of going through the motions of the scene without there really being any water. The water is employed, but you get a sense that where they're at is real, only because they are truly on a real set. And there are some scenes involving water where they do pump in just zillions of gallons of water into certain scenes. But it is amazing when you sit there and you just now I listen to the director commentary, and it does come with a commentary, which is awesome. Although it's not just the director; it's a few chiming in from time to time, and you kind of get a level of appreciation for just the amount of love that went into this film. The composer Beltrami, I think you say his last name. Man, he's done everything like the Scream trilogy. He scored Mimic. He worked with Del Toro a lot. The Thing from 11 he scored. Quiet Place, both films. So, I mean, the guy, man, the music score is freaking out of this world. And let me just talk about the special effects crew. Not really going to name anyone by name, but the group that was behind this film is Legacy Special Effects. I think that's the official title. But Legacy. And but what's interesting is the founders of that group actually spent about 20 years working and supervising projects for Stan Winston's studio. And when he unfortunately passed on, the founders, or our founders, this group of special effects artists got together post Stan Winston and created what now is Legacy. And man, I'm telling you, man, they know how to work. These cats know how to work, and so they've been at it for a while now. I think they got their start in 2012, their first film, but they've had their hands on a lot of Jurassic Park films, a lot of films. In fact, a couple of the special effects artists on this movie, I actually went back and actually saw their names listed in the 45 listing under Aliens. So I mean, these guys, these cats have been around for a while working in the world of special effects. So let's see, the film, the Lovecraftian sense of the film, it's a good payoff towards the end. It sort of begs the question: is this going to be a segue into other things? And if you've noticed, man, it's I think Del Toro, and back when we thought At the Mountains of Madness was a real thing, nearly got greenlit. James Cameron was going to executive produce. I think Tom Cruise was already being part of the project, and of course that's Del Toro's. That's his baby. That's the one he wants to do, his dream project more than anything. But I think with all that, and even though the rug sort of got pulled out from under it, and it ended up not being made. Eventually, Richard Stanley comes into the picture. Now he's involved in what hopefully will materialize into a trilogy. Of course, he just put out Color Out of Space. And so it just seems like finally Lovecraft is really starting to find its way into the Cthulhu mythos and whatnot, or finding itself into bigger, much larger studio films. It's about freaking time. Now maybe we'll see Del Toro finally get his dream gig and bring At the Mountains. That would be the mother of all films, I think. So, for me, there are better, better Lovecraft films. I love Color Out of Space. I mean, that truly is a Lovecraft story, of course. And here, they've just sort of taken the Cthulhu myth and they've put it into this situation. And like I said, I don't know what the segue is into other films involving perhaps Cthulhu himself. But it is an interesting way of approaching it, where it can just remain a standalone film or be part of something bigger. So we'll have to see. But like I said, man, I mean, be it the cinematographer, the composer, the legacy as a special effects group behind it, William Eubank, I thought did a phenomenal effort as far as bringing his vision to life. It just it's a roller coaster, man. It's one of those films that it just not a lot of character development, but where it's placed here and there works for what is being done. I mean, I think I was gonna say, what narrative you do get for the characters is enough, because how you see them cling together and support and help each other try to achieve the final goal, which is live. I think comes across really, really well. And so if you happen to be one of those cats out there that has that just can't stand Kristen Stewart, and so you've been avoiding this, I say give it a shot anyways. I don't, like I said, I didn't have any bias towards her at all coming into this film. What caught me, what hooked me, was just the Lovecraft notion, the creature that was going to be, whether it's actually, what it ends up actually being. Even when you listen to the director commentary, there's some subjectivity to it. It's definitely wrapped in Lovecraftian mythology for sure, but whether ultimately what we get at the end is actually Cthulhu remains to be seen. And I guess I have to apologize for the somewhat spoiler, but it has been out for a bit and a lot of people have already seen it. And maybe as for me, I mean, hearing things like that, what I just said, is what hooked me into seeing it. So what I've said ought not to repel you, but ought to, I hope, draw you in and give it a shot if you haven't seen it yet. So Underwater 2020, what did you think? Did you know that this was the last final release under the old 20th Century Fox label? So some interesting things there with that. As always, I mean, I know Georgia here is starting to, I think Friday is day one of phase one of reopening our state back up to normality. I don't know how it is for the rest of you and the viewing, listening audience. It's somewhat varied across our country and, of course, around the world. But all my hopes, all my prayers do go out to each and every single one of you, especially those of you who have been touched by this horrible virus, and hoping for quick healing. And so, anyways, check it out. Underwater, William Eubank. Next week, Killer Animal Week, and it's back to some good old Italian horror, and man, that movie is a freaking blast. It's going to be fun to do next week, so be on the lookout for that, and take care. Go Bills.